$15 to $20 ADA? I wouldn't mind some of that. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so today we're actually going to be diving into the world of Cardano, specifically taking a look at a few things that have been going on. Obviously Charles Hoskinson is back from his Africa trip, so there's a few things just to kind of note around there. There's some influencers talking about some pretty high numbers in terms of the expectations of ADA. We're going to dive into the charts as well, take a look at what we think is a realistic price prediction for Cardano. So as we get into this, if you do find it useful and informative, then definitely do go ahead and hit that like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, let's dive right on down into the desktop and take a look at what's going on here with Cardano. Okay, cool. So this is obviously our weekly chart. We're going to come back to this in a moment. The first thing I kind of want to bring up is basically Charles Hoskinson is excited about the 2022 roadmap for Cardano's living, growing ecosystem. I'm not going to read the entire thing in whole, but there's a couple of snippets I think are worthwhile kind of noting. So basically there was a tweet that was put out by Charles, and he's basically saying, I'm really loving how the roadmap for 2022 Cardano is coming together. It's a living ecosystem, growing, refining, adapting, and becoming stronger. The technology is unbelievable, and we have so many great innovations coming to meet the hundreds of projects building on Cardano. So it's kind of a good all-round kind of I guess tweet that kind of just shows you the kind of progress that's being made, and kind of really being quite strong behind the fact that there are hundreds of projects building on the Cardano ecosystem, taking advantage of the technology there, basically making it nice and stronger. So all in all, I think this is a pretty cool kind of thing to kind of show. And I also did I think it was an AMA, a brief AMA yesterday as well. But you know, as the network grows and Cardano functions at a higher capacity, we will be adjusting the parameterization to keep up with network demand, and a few other things. Now, what's really interesting about this is obviously Ben Armstrong's tweet at the end here. I guess it goes to ADA price action at the end here from this. Basically, the most parabolic action is at the end of the cycle. I do believe we can see Cardano ADA between 15 and 20 at the very end. I believe it is possible. ADA gang, what can I say? So, you know, I think that's an important thing to just kind of note, that there are obviously a lot of numbers being batted around from different influencers across the space, right? Be that Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, right? Obviously, you've got BitBoy here saying 15 to 20. And again, you know, I wouldn't hate to see a $15 to $20, you know, ADA, right? And, you know, when I actually look at the charts, it's very possible that we could see something like that. It's not supported technically from the charts at the moment, but, you know, things do go completely crazy towards the end with a lot of FOMO, right? So although Cardano technically isn't indicating that on the charts, and we'll get into that in a moment, it is possible that something fundamentally shifts and changes, and specifically with Cardano, is something that I do think is possible, and we could actually start seeing a lot more price action than what the charts are currently suggesting. So we do have to take it with a pinch of salt, right? It's complete speculation because no one really knows where the price of ADA is likely to go. On this channel, we try to be as realistic as we can, and we use the data that is available to us to make educated decisions and make educated guesses as to where we think things are likely to go. Okay, and it wasn't all that long ago I was predicting that Cardano would hit $3, and we are with a $3 ADA. Obviously, we pulled back a little bit from there as well. So I think this is an interesting kind of note, and obviously now that Charles is back from Africa, we do expect to see some more, yeah, I guess, kind of price discovery, recovery on the horizon here for Cardano, but do expect it to be, you know, a little bit slower, because I do anticipate that Cardano is likely to be one of the last coins to kind of run. And before I actually jump into the charts here, I do want to bring up the advice.io dashboard. Now, advice.io, they use artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. Okay, and in this case, we're actually taking a look at Cardano, because everything for Cardano at the moment. You know, there's a lot of kind of hype, speculation, lots of positivity, but it's important that we are quite neutral on this channel, right? And it's important that we tell you the bad as well as the good. And this artificial intelligence of advice.io right now is actually indicating some pretty bad times that maybe lie ahead in the short term before we start seeing some of that decent price action that we're going to be talking about in a little while. So let's get into this, right? So ADA here is a B2 cryptocurrency, right? And basically this B2 is being pulled down in a couple of areas, and I think it's important that we acknowledge what they are. Right away, we have a fear and greed index that's specific to ADA. This is actually an A3 rating, so that's actually pretty greedy right now, which means people are potentially FOMOing in, buying up some ADA at some discounted rates, which is fantastic. It's always good to see that. However, we have a Sharpe ratio, right? The Sharpe ratio is a rating of D. Now, this particular rating is your risk-reward rating, and right now, this particular indicator is telling us that the risks outweigh the rewards, and actually having exposure to ADA right now might not be the best idea. Okay, and we can see that we're slipping down below this red line. The red line is our 50-day average, so it's important that we acknowledge that, yes, although the charts are looking pretty good in terms of where Cardano is likely to go, there's some good speculation about what kind of price ADA is likely to hit. It's also important that we acknowledge that right now might not be the best time to be buying. In fact, there might be a dip coming up where you might want to buy, and that's kind of what this Sharpe ratio is indicating to us. We have a lot of greed right now, but that is usually when profits are taken, right? When things are incredibly greedy, the experienced traders in the space do like to take profits, and the Sharpe ratio taking a dip the way that it has done would indicate to me that we're more than likely going to see a small pullback with Cardano, and therefore some cheaper ADA could be had. So buying right now could be frustrating for some in the space when they see it instantaneously pull back. Not saying that is going to happen. I'm not a financial advisor, obviously, and advice.io are not giving you financial advice either. What they are doing is giving you the tools to make your own decisions based on some kind of technical indicator. Okay, so it's important that we do acknowledge that everything isn't looking so great from a data point of view for Cardano right now. Long term, I'm super bullish though. I do think that the bulls are going to have their day, and we're going to see Cardano reach some really good numbers. And I'll go through what my expectations are in a moment. Let's just go through the rest of this. The liquidity is looking pretty good at A2, so there's no problems with liquidity. There's no problems with the profitability. That's looking pretty good. The moving averages obviously have been affected, and that's kind of a standard thing when you start to see the price action in the charts. So ultimately, my main concern at the moment from the underlying data that is being indicated to us from the advice.io dashboard is the Sharpe ratio. The risk-reward ratio, the risks outweigh the rewards right now. So exposure is something that is basically being indicated here that we might not want to have exposure to ADA right this second. Obviously, I'm super long on this one anyway, so I'm okay with it. But obviously, make sure that you're aware that there is a potential dip on the horizon being indicated from this chart, or at least from these indicators. So when we actually jump back to the charts here, we can obviously take a look at this weekly. Now, this weekly chart is looking very, very good. Okay, and I often refer to this if we're ever kind of in doubts over what is likely to happen with Cardano, or whether or not we're paying too much attention to the smaller time frames. We pay attention to the weekly instead. Zoom right out, go to the weekly, go to the monthly, and take a look at the structure, right? We are following 5 impulsive moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going up into 5. Now, this is Elliott wave, impulsive moves to the upside. There is basically 3 up, 1, 3, and 5, followed by 2 down, wave 2 and wave 4. Okay, and obviously it was in wave 4 that loads of people in the space were calling it a bear market, whereas actually it was just this 4th wave correction. Again, hit people pretty hard, but again, this actually was a pretty neat example for ADA. It held up well. We had a triple tap at the bottom here, and basically we've been performing quite well, and we're continuing that growth to the upside. Now, basically August was a very good month. We set that all-time high, and then we started to see the month of September come in and pull us down, right? And basically we've just been kind of trading sideways ever since. Now, a lot of this is actually coming down to the fact that everyone was kind of speculating on smart contracts. Smart contracts got launched, and then nothing happened, right? People were kind of expecting that as soon as you have smart contracts, you're way off to the races. Loads of apps are being built on the Cardano ecosystem, and it's all good, right? And what people fail to understand is you need that Plutus application backend, right, Pab? And basically that allows you to have this standardization across the smart contracts, which means you wouldn't have to have the developers basically program all the basics into every single smart contract every single time. Instead, you can use the Plutus application backend to allow you to basically standardize a lot of that stuff and basically make it a lot easier for applications to launch. So basically everyone's kind of holding off, waiting for that to kind of hit the mainnet. And once obviously that's done, then you're going to start seeing a flurry of applications move over from Ethereum and obviously launch brand new ones that are being built specifically for Cardano. And that's really when you're going to start seeing transactional volume. And once you start seeing the transactional volume is when you start to see the demand for ADA. And obviously it's a supply demand thing, right? And most of it is staked at the moment. So a good amount of decentralization, a good amount off of the exchanges. As that demand builds up and starts to really kick in, that's where you start to see price discovery, right? So when we talk about $15 to $20 ADA, yes, I think it's possible, but you do require a significant fundamental shift that's not already been speculated inside this data, right? There's a lot of speculation pretty much riding this in this year all the way to the upside, whether that was smart contracts or whether that is now launching 100 projects moving from, Ethereum to Cardano, right? Lots going on. So a lot of that speculation is kind of already built in here, but unless something really big fundamentally shifts and changes, we could start to see that push a little bit higher. But if we actually take into consideration all the speculation that we've seen so far, and actually some of that kind of speculation coming true and some apps actually getting launched or moving over, we could actually start to see this play out with the expectations of what's already built into the data, right? And for that, what we've done is we've used a trend-based Fibonacci extension, okay? So basically what we're looking for here is taking into consideration this impulsive moves, these 5 waves that we see going on here on the Cardano chain. Basically, we take into consideration the down wave of wave 2, the up wave for wave 3, and the down wave of wave 4, right? They take those 3 trends, right? So take those 3 trends into consideration and draw out your fibs, okay? So this actually allows us to see a 4.236 extension at $11.31. So a little bit short of that $15 kind of price range. Wouldn't surprise me though if we do overextend, as I said, right? We could see a lot of additional things happen. But based on these trends that we've seen in the bull run so far, and pretty much this goes all the way back from October 2020, right? We're taking all of the trend into consideration, and we're seeing $11, right? And that's kind of where I do see this thing peaking out. Now, often on this channel, we like to be a little bit more conservative. We've been talking about $10 for a very long time. But even beyond that, we can be super conservative and say $7.22. $7.22 is an area that we talk about quite a bit, because if we actually take a look at just that fourth wave correction from the peak of wave 3 and the low of wave 4, a 4.236 extension from there shows us $7.22. So depending on how conservative you want to be, you can go up to that $7 range, kind of take your profits and don't worry about it, let it ride up further. My expectation is that we are going to push past that $10 range, but a little bit past it, not too far. And $11.31 based on the trend seems pretty plausible to me personally. So I do find that's a very realistic kind of price expectation based on the trends of the bull run that we've seen so far. Now, obviously, we have hit that all-time high. I think this happened towards the end of August, beginning of September. I think came in at basically $3.10. Okay, and when we actually take a look at the bull run entirely from the low areas of March 2020 all the way through to basically the beginning of September, Cardano seems 17,300% in gains. So it significantly outperformed things like Ethereum and Bitcoin, but it hasn't performed as well as many of the other altcoins in the space, right? Anchor, for example, is 34,000, Matic at 42,000. So it's important that we acknowledge that the best part of ADA has not yet occurred. The stochastic RSIs are approaching the oversold area, and we know what's happened previously when we're down here. We have these huge kind of price expectations or explosions to the upside. We saw this down at the bottom of wave 2. We see it at the bottom of wave 1. We can also see it at the bottom of our fourth wave correction just here as we pushed up towards the top of September. Okay, now we're all the way back down at the bottom. What do we think is likely to happen here in the next few weeks and month or so is basically a huge push to the upside in terms of price, but also bringing that stochastic RSI back to the overbought area. So right now it's important that we do acknowledge that it is, of course, oversold on our weekly chart, and that's the bigger picture. You can get lost inside your hourlies, your 15-minute, your 5-minute charts, even your daily charts to a point. Okay, and as long as you have a good picture of where you're going, I wouldn't be too concerned over the small kind of pullbacks that we are likely to see in the coming weeks. Ultimately, that the advice.io artificial intelligence is anything to tell us, it is that we should be expecting a small pullback to occur in the next week or so, and before we continue the push to the upside, which is my expectation overall. I do expect Cardano to be one of the last coins to actually peak in this bull run, along with XRP. We often talk about this quite a bit on the channel. And again, I think this is down to the fact there's so much going on with Cardano. We need to see a lot of those applications launch, bring in that demand for ADA, and obviously that's going to have some huge price expectations. So do expect money to roll around the market a bit, and expect ADA to be one of the potentially the last ones to kind of go towards the end of the bull run when things go absolutely crazy. I do expect it to perform incredibly well. As I said, $11.31 is my expectation as a realistic level, but I wouldn't be surprised if something changes and we actually see it push much higher. So guys, hopefully you have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.